Okay guys, with this video I will unlock a new fear, okay? What if you wake up during surgery? Very interesting question. Let's go with this video.
Imagine suddenly awakening to hellish pain. Think of the unbearable horror when you try to scream, but your voice doesn't obey. It's then that you realize that your entire body is paralyzed. There's only one thought that comes to mind.
But if you wake up, do you feel the pain, or are you awake? You can see like everything, but you don't feel any pain, or do you feel both? You can see anything and you have pain. I don't know what happens.
To die as soon as possible and rid yourself of this nightmarish torment. This isn't a scene from a documentary about the atrocities of the Gestapo or the Mafia. Any of us could experience such a horrendous sensation during a routine medical operation. Every year, more than 21 million people across the world undergo routine surgery and receive general anesthesia.
And it's a fact that some of them, I think not much, okay, but some of them wake up during surgery. It will happen. Even if it's only 1 out of 1 million, it happened already.
Out without feeling a thing. However, also every year, about 30,000 patients suddenly regain consciousness on the operating table.
How many?
About 30,000 patients suddenly regain consciousness on the operating table.
30,000 per year. This is more than I expected, guys.
In medical terminology, this is called anesthesia awareness. So why does anesthesia suddenly stop working? And how does surgery done awake threaten the patient? First, we have to understand just how really anesthesia works. Normal anesthesia actually involves several different groups of drugs. None of them independently provides the necessary conditions for an operation. Generally, anesthesia consists of 3 components. The first is anesthetics, which immerse the patient into a kind of sleep. Psychosis is achieved using analgesics and narcotic anesthetics. These drugs completely block the passage of painful nerve impulses. An anesthesiologist devises an individual, unique cocktail for each patient. The doctor's tasks are to completely put the patient to sleep, relax their muscles, and to deliver an analgesic effect. At the same time,
guys, I'm so happy to be like doing YouTube videos, okay? Imagine to do this job, I would... No, not with me, I'm out.
The mixture should not lead to malfunction of the cardiovascular, nervous, or other bodily systems. To calculate the optimal dose of anesthesia is really quite difficult. It's dependent on the particular characteristics of... Of course, it's very important that you put the perfect amount on the body, because if you're doing too much or too less, it could be dangerous in both ways, okay? Each patient's body, their lifestyle, the habits of the patient, and much more. The difficulties are compounded by the fact that the mechanism of action of anesthetics is not entirely understood. And in addition, each person's body reacts to the medicines in its own
But I think there are 2 different ingredients. One ingredient is for that you are unconsciousness and you do not wake up, and another one is that you don't feel the pain. So if both don't work, then you wake up and you have pain. But if you only wake up, but the anti-pain ingredient, that works, so you are awake but you don't have any pain, you don't feel anything. So that both happen, I think the chance that this happens is so small, yeah.
Special way. So quite obviously, mistakes in dosage are quite possible. If the mixture doesn't contain precisely the right amount of ingredients, or the patient's body produces an unexpected reaction, for the patient, the operation can turn into a genuine nightmare.
Of course, is it possible to be allergic to some ingredients?
When improper anesthesia is administered...
When you haven't done a surgery before, you don't know that you are allergic, you know? And you always have your first time. Imagine.
Events.
I have like 1 surgery when I was a small kid, so I do not remember anything of it. But yeah, I got my wisdom teeth out, but I only got a local anesthesia, you know? Only local, not for my whole body.
In one scenario, after awakening, the patient can hear, see, and sometimes even move, but not feel any pain.
Yes.
In this
Exactly what I said, guys. I'm scientist Mats, you know? These glasses are so dirty you cannot imagine. Can you see it maybe? Yes, wake up, but you don't feel anything.
In this case, while he has used the right amount of pain-blocking medication, the anesthetist has undershot on the amount of anesthetics and relaxants. However, doctors are likely to quickly notice an early awakening of the patient in such cases and add in the necessary.
Imagine you don't feel any pain, okay? But imagine you wake up and you see your whole upper body, it's open. You can look inside, inside your body. This is a nightmare. Totally nightmare.
Components to the anesthesia. After this, a person usually doesn't have strong memories of the experience that could lead to mental disorders or depression. Another scenario is having woken up, the patient can feel neither pain nor his or her own body. So the dose of relaxants and painkillers for them is sufficient, but the amount of anesthetic is too low. It might even happen that the surgeon doesn't notice the awakening of the patient until the end of the operation. But since there's no...
Imagine you wake up and you cannot speak. You cannot give a sign that you are awake. And the doctors, they continue to operate you. And you're like, no, I'm awake, but I cannot talk. I cannot give a sign. You cannot move. It's like a paralysis, you know?
Pain. The patient will not suffer serious psychological trauma.
Okay.
He or she just listens to the doctor's conversations or looks at their faces. Sometimes after awakening, the patient can feel pain and can move. So in such a cocktail, there isn't enough of any of the components of the anesthesia. This condition, though, is quickly recognized by doctors and they instantly add more anesthesia. Worst of all, though,
guys, I'm not feeling good, to be honest, at the moment, to see all these pictures. I'm very sensitive, you know, to see all of these pictures. I'm very bored. I hate like anything what happens to my body what is not usual, you know, like surgeries or injections or something like that.
Is if a patient wakes up, can feel pain, but because of the paralysis, the patient cannot report it. In this case, the dose of relaxants is sufficient, but the other components of the anesthesia are not. This can cause tremendous suffering to the patient. And after the operation, the patient will most likely have to struggle for an extended period with such things as general stress, mental disorders, insomnia, and nightmares. They're soul-chilling stories that weren't made into a movie. Anesthesiologists from all of the hospitals in the UK and Ireland compiled a collection of testimonies from people who came to in 2012. They put together a report regarding about 300 cases of the unsuccessful use of anesthesia. The researchers reported that many patients had nightmarish memories of unbearable pain and suffocation. In 1998, one Carol Vire...
So you can remember the pain? Pain is not a pain. To clarify, pain is not real, guys. Pain is just a reaction from your body, and these are signals to your brain. Okay, there are some nerves in your body, and they know. Okay, now I have to make a signal to my brain. Oh, okay, this is painful. This is painful. This is painful. A warning, so to say. You know. To be honest, when your whole body is open or when you have a big surgery, pain must be tremendously high. Okay.
Woke up during an operation to remove her eye. The unhappy woman tried to scream or give some kind of a signal to the doctors, but she couldn't move an inch. And
she woke up during eye surgery and she couldn't make a move. She was paralyzed, okay? She was laying like there and she couldn't do anything. And it must be so painful to recognize, to notice like every step the doctors are doing.
Horrifyingly, the operation lasted for 5.5 hours.
No way! No way! You cannot tell me that she's lying there for 5.5 hours and she noticed like everything, the pain and every step the doctor is doing, and she cannot do anything for 5.5 hours. That must been the worst 5 hours in her whole life. I'm really sure about that.
Every minute, every second of the operation became for Carol an unbearable torture. She repeatedly went mad with the pain, lost consciousness, and came to again. This was repeated over and over and
Oh my gosh. Of course, she lost consciousness every time then because of the pain, because what happens there. So for 5 hours, she lost consciousness and woke up again. Oh my gosh.
over. Another patient, June Carson, after also waking up on the operating table, could not move or make a sound. But the woman clearly felt the surgeon's knife cut into her flesh. The pain was so unbearable that June begged again and again to die. And indeed, 15 minutes after the onset of her suffering, her heart stopped. Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, but the greatest fear for most people, they said, was inspired not by the potential pain, but the paralysis. One of the authors of the study, Zadeep Pandit, believes that they felt the pain was at least understandable, but few knew how it feels to be paralyzed. Many thought that they had been buried alive. It's not surprising that most often patients cannot forgive the doctors.
To be honest, I'm very afraid of paralysis, okay? This must be a traumatic experience.
For such glaring mistakes. One patient went into surgery
Because you cannot do anything. You're forceless. This is such a worse feeling.
to have their leg cut open, and the surgeon needed to drill into the bone. The patient was given anesthesia, but it didn't work properly. The man was fully conscious, lying there on the table with a tube down his throat, unable to move.
I'm shivering, guys.
And yet, he contrived to make
I'm not feeling good, to be honest. I'm not feeling that good because to hear these horror stories, guys. To be honest, in the future, I will be a little bit afraid of surgery, okay? But in the main cases, usually nothing bad happens, okay? These are like exceptions, yeah?
some kind of a sign to the doctors by wiggling his toes. The nurse noticed the wiggling toes and alerted the surgeon.
Oh my gosh. He could move his toes and then they noticed.
But the doctor said that the toe movement was only unconscious reflexes and began the operation anyway.
Oh, no way. Yeah, because sometimes I think it happens that a patient moves his arm or he moves like any part of the body, and it's a normal reflection, but it's not a sign that he's awake. So yeah, they continue with the surgery.
From the unbelievable pain and mental trauma, the patient became deathly ill and soon stopped breathing. However, the physicians immediately connected him to an artificial respirator, preventing him from expiring. After the operation, the victim filed a lawsuit and was compensated in the amount of £15,000.
Okay, £15,000 you got back, but you do not get back the traumatic experience.
But nothing can be compared to what has been experienced by newborn babies in Europe and the US, or without any anesthesia at all.
Yeah, because they have so small bodies, they cannot get a amount in their body of anesthesia, of course. So they have to go through a lot of suffer.
During that time, there was an opinion that the nervous system in newborn,
Or imagine back then when we didn't have any anesthesia. You only have to bite on a towel or something like that, and that was all the painkiller you have.
was almost completely undeveloped, and as such, they did not feel anything. It's hard to imagine how much pain and fear all those poor little creatures experienced during operations on their tiny little bodies. Only in the 1980s did the members of the American Society of Pediatrics and the American Society of Anesthesiologists changed their approach. They finally declared that newborn babies, including preterm infants, could feel these surgical interventions. After that, doctors finally ended the diabolical practice of cutting into live, unanesthetized or weakly anesthetized babies. Having learned all the horrors of anesthesia awareness, one could, of course, refuse to have operations. But this shouldn't be done, especially when there are strong indications of the need for surgical intervention. It should be remembered that the probability of awakening under the scalpel is a negligible 0.008 to 0.2% of all operations.
Of course.
And in approximately 80% of all such cases, even after having come to, the patients don't remember anything.
Yeah, of course.
In addition, anesthesia awareness is most often only for a very short time and occurs just before the surgery begins or immediately after its onset. In these modern times, there are new technologies that allow doctors to more accurately determine a patient's condition during surgery. For example,
this is good. This is good. From this video, from now, I'm very afraid of surgeries. So it's good that you can noticing, or you have like detection systems that are noticing when a patient is awake.
Method of monitoring the auditory system of patients has been developed and is considered very promising. Its essence is that the hair cells of the inner ear, the auditory nerve, and the brainstem, upon the awakening of the patient, begin to react to sound stimulus. And this is even if the patient is completely paralyzed. But it's also possible that soon such innovations will be of no use regardless. Physicians more and more often are managing to carry out complex operations without anesthesia, but without the patient feeling any pain or stress. Neurosurgeons from Germany have even been able to operate on parts of the brain of fully conscious patients. Innovation has made it possible to dispense with general anesthesia and also local anesthesia on the skull and scalp of a patient. This helps doctors to destroy tumors in cases that had previously been inoperable and without damaging important parts of the brain. During the operation, the doctor can simply ask the patient to speak, count, recognize faces in photos, or even to just lift a finger. Interestingly, often such actions are necessary to identify areas of the brain that shouldn't be touched during the operation.
Imagine there are brain surgeries. They're looking inside your head. This is so weird. Brains are so fascinating, guys. I just have respect for every doctor, for every surgeon.
This new method has become indispensable in the case of contraindications to general anesthesia. For example, with exacerbation of bronchial asthma, angina pectoris, and some neurological disorders. Honestly, the percentage of operations done without anesthesia is still quite small. But with the development of these new technologies, their number will undoubtedly grow. And someday people won't have to suffer the long waking up and recovery period after anesthesia or depression following anesthesia awareness. And then we'll have achieved our dream. And even with the most serious of operations, we'll go to a surgeon for only a short visit or a couple of hours and casually stroll home after.
Awesome video, guys. To be honest, I'm not feeling that good, but that was a really nice answer, guys. So in general, you don't have to be afraid, but there were some cases and they sound very creepy. But I hope in this video they exaggerated a little bit. I hope, yes. So this was all that happens when you wake up during surgery. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Mats, guys. I upload every day on this channel, like normal videos and one short. Yeah, thanks for your support, and of course subscribe my channel if you haven't done it yet. It's only one click below the video, and we see each other in the next video tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.